Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome Construction World. Christopher James from Oryx Consulting. Welcome back to Oryx Talks. Today we're going to talk about a very cool job that we've been luckily to be involved in over in Singapore. You've probably heard on our social media we talk about this project a lot, but there's a lot to be proud of. So once again, Lindsay's behind the camera and we'll get straight into it. This is all about that beautiful project over in Singapore.
Can you just start off by describing the job?
The project is in the south of Singapore, and it's a new container terminal that the Singapore government is building. Currently, the current container terminal in Singapore is actually at the north of the island from memory, but it's very, very close proximity to the heart of town. So what the Singapore government has done is they're moving this whole container terminal, building a brand new one on basically in the ocean. It's a full land reclamation project where they're making land is what they're doing. So they're going to move everything from the north, all of the cranes, everything, and building a new container terminal in the south. This particular job that we're involved in is, I think they call it phase 2, and it is the second finger berth, I think is the right term, that they are putting in there, and it's a fantastic project.
Why were slingers considered over traditional methods?
The problem that they had in Singapore was what's called the Singapore clay. Traditionally, they will put like big Lego blocks around, and this is what I learnt on the project, big concrete blocks that they call caissons that go around the outside, and it's like joining Lego bricks together, but it's on the sea floor coming up. These concrete blocks weigh 15,000 tonne, and they put them all around the outside, and then they will fill the internal with material. Singapore clay is like it's like a jello. There's no consistency to it. It's slop. Traditionally, they would pick this material up that they dredge out, and they would take it out and they would dump it somewhere. But this particular contractor wanted to use this and knew that there was a way of doing it, but they weren't quite sure how. They started with traditional methods on the project, but all they were doing were wasting material. What happens is they would put a sand cap, a sand layer on top of this sub-material, and what was happening when they were using traditional methods like dumping it with articulated dump trucks and then pushing it with a bulldozer is it was disappearing out of sight into the clay. They couldn't get the layers up, so they needed different types of material, and they needed to place material in a particular layer on top of this clay. So hence why the inquiry came in for the slingers, and we got the opportunity to go and have a look at the project.
What, if any, trials were needed for the project?
Yeah, big trials. So the Australian distributor Caneric Group, we sent over a AT7 that they had in stock, and that it's only a short sailing distance. I think it's about, I think it was 10 or 12 days from memory from Perth up to Singapore. We sent it up there. We did a little bit of training with the local with the operators that we had on site, and then we got heavily involved with the geotechnical engineer and also production engineers as well. They originally started with not knowing whether it was able to do the job. I knew it would move the sand, that wasn't an issue. It was a matter of whether the geotechnical engineer and the particular patterns, layers, the way they wanted to do it was actually going to work. So This went on, we did a month of trials. Technically they said a month, but this went on for over 3 months, and all kinds of production tests, speed tests, maintenance. This client was honestly the best that I've seen at the collection of data to make real world decisions, that if they purchased this machinery, what was it going to cost them in maintenance, and all the ancillaries that go with it. It wasn't just can it do the job, it was a whole of life cost, and was this the best avenue for them to do that project.
How many slingers are on site?
There are 5 slingers on site. They purchased 5 for this particular project. When they started, their initial inquiry was for up to 9 units, and that was with the production rates that we were giving them. The trials soon learnt that yes, they did the production rates that we were talking about, and sometimes in most cases it was actually a little bit less because they wanted to shoot at such a far distance. It was the machines working around the clock that got them to the point where they could reduce the amount of machinery that they needed. They purchased 5, but out of that 5, 1 was a spare machine. 1 was only there for backup when they needed to do maintenance and rotate for maintenance. As with anyone in production, that 5th machine has generally always been in work and in production. So 5 machines on site, working around the clock, 2 shifts, day shift and a night shift.
That's 3 different kinds, right, of slingers?
They had 3 different kinds of slingers, but Caneric Group, the Australian distributor, sent over one of their other machines for a short period of time until they took delivery of all the units. It was only to help them out, and that machine is now, I believe, back in Australia.
What are the conditions like on this job?
To say it's a harsh environment would be an understatement. It's a marine environment. It's working in some extremely high humidity areas. Singapore, if you are familiar with the area, is almost on the equator. Very, very humid, high humidity, but working in a marine environment, we're working with salt water all day, every day. It is as harsh as it comes with abrasive sand. So it's been a fantastic job for us and CAS for collecting data and getting that data into a real world where we can use that to say, do we need to do something better with the machines? Do we need to protect it in a better way? So far, it's been, the machines have stood up absolutely fantastic. I mean, after 21 months of operation, they were up to 25,000 hours between the 5 machines. So not even 2 years, and every machine has clocked over the 5,000 hours. Fantastic achievement. During the trial period, it was also very, very good for us to collect some data on these particular conditions. And we made some modifications at the factory level. This is the beauty of working with someone like CAS, where to give the customer exactly what he needed, or at least the best chance of success with what he was doing, we needed to make some alterations. One of those things were a bigger cooling system for the hydraulics on the CAS slingers. We put larger oil coolers on there, and we put a higher temperature grade hydraulic oil into it as well. There was no alterations done to any of the engines or cooling systems from factory. The Caterpillar product is very, very good for what we're doing with these. We modified some of the tyres on the AT7. We put a larger, fatter flotation tyre on 2 of the 3 units, which has been absolutely fantastic. And we've also put a larger, thicker placing belt on the placing conveyor. When we started the trials, we were getting 60 hours out of a placing belt, which is almost unheard of. There was nothing left of the chevrons on the placing belt at all. They were 100% gone. We went back to site, we did some more training, we educated them on, the higher speeds that you do, the more wear that you're going to get. So can we come up with a happy medium here? Meanwhile, the factory did have a heavy-duty belt that is used in these types of applications. We air freighted some of those to the job site, and these are the belts that they are using now. So it was a really good project for collecting data to make some modifications to the machine to best suit their needs and get some real-world feedback for us.
Were there any other problems?
Were there any other problems? Yes, there was. We had an issue right from the first trial machine over there where we had the radio control receiver box was shorting out, for want of a better word. We got down to the fact that the high humidity was creating a condensation inside of these boxes. The way that they sit on the machine, which was recommended by the company that manufacture them, lent all of the condensation to come straight down onto the electronic circuit board. What we ended up doing from factory and to this machine as well was we put them into a secondary box, and being in the secondary box was what attracted the moisture. We had some desiccant beads that we would put in this box to soak up all of that moisture, and we've never, as far as I'm aware, come to any other issues with these apart from normal wear and tear that we do get with those. We had some issues with one of the pivot bearings as well. The original pivot bearing, it didn't like the conditions that it was working in with the highly abrasive sand, and the team on site would always try and keep these machines as clean as they could, but unfortunately when they hit them with the pressure washer, they were actually blowing the grit and the sand into a lot of the bearings. So they modified these on site, and they have solved their issue. They're not having any of these issues again. But this for us was really good feedback. We were able to bring this back to the factory, and these modifications will be coming through on some of the newer models. So this is the kind of feedback, the real world feedback that you need. We also had, and it was through one of the operators on site, they wanted to know if there was a way that they could automate the slew function, because this was what they were doing all day, every day, hour after hour after hour, slewing back and forth. Working with Dave Looney, the technical guru at CAS, we worked with him in a very short period of time. Dave had run a new program, was able to change a few things, and this was a semi-auto slew function that was brought into the two TR20s that went to the job site. Fantastic, and now it's I believe it's almost it's in every one of their models now. I'm not going to say 100%, but I know that we spoke about that this would be something that would go into all the models. So these, again, really good feedback from the guys on site that made their life easier that we brought to the factory.
Can you describe the success and productivity that they've experienced?
Success has been, it's been better than what I expected, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It is such a harsh environment that the machinery, when they first conceived these types of off-road slingers, I know that they didn't have this type of project in mind. I knew that the machines would last, but at what condition would they be in, and would they be where they are right now? It has exceeded my expectations beyond belief. I'm immensely happy with the performance of the machines, but also the longevity of the machines as well. To clock up one machine, I believe is, well, it definitely is now, over 6,000 hours in under 2 years, is a testament to the build quality of the machines and the guys that put these together. We didn't have any of the machines that got delivered that didn't get off the ship and go to work. Yes, I personally flew to the United States to inspect every machine at the factory before they left, because this was such a high profile job for us, and we knew what it meant to the client to get things right. This is paramount. But the production rates right now, They have the potential of moving in this particular application 2.5 cubic meters every minute, every machine. So at the 8 hours of production, 8 and a bit, because of their breaks and maintenance and things like this, they are able to move somewhere in the vicinity of 9,000 cubic meters every 24 hours with the 5 machines. Absolutely fantastic. They don't always do this because they have to move, they have maintenance, they have. So this is the higher end potential of where they are. Some of the machines, they do need to sling at further distances, and once they sling at the maximum distance, this production rate comes down. So the production rate, best case scenario, is the 2.5 cubic meters at the distances that they need to. But yeah, it has exceeded their expectations, I believe, as well, because there has been some times where they were ahead of schedule and they had some of the machines parked up for some maintenance as well. So yeah, it's been fantastic. It really has been.
Without the Slingers, how do you think this job would have went?
As it got described to me from the project director and their lead engineer that first came over to discuss with us, they were losing 40% of the imported sand prior to the Slingers coming on site. I don't know, I've never been involved with anything else that had the potential of having such a small, light footprint but moving such an amount of material. I don't know of any other machinery that could have done this. I mean, we looked at tally belts, we looked at all kinds of different things, but they were too heavy, they were too large for the application, they weren't as mobile. These were the right tool for this particular job that they had. I don't know how else they would have done the job. They could have possibly come up with different methods for trying to limit the waste, but they wouldn't have eliminated. They would have only ever reduced the amount of waste. So this was one of those projects that I really don't. This was the silver bullet for them and for their particular project. So yeah, it's been a great project for us to be involved in. Okay guys, I hope that's been of really good help for you, and again some really good vital information. Thanks for listening to our talks. I really do hope that they add some value to your world and your project, and you can take something away from them. If you enjoy what you see here, please hit the subscribe button and that bell notification so you can get any updates to any of the videos that we're publishing. Thanks again guys, be safe, look after your mates.